So, over the years, I've been asked a lot, and mainly by men, why are you single? It's kind of a strange question. I think Matthew Hussey did a video in which he translated things that men say into, I guess, like women's language. And when a man asks, why are you single? I guess what it means, what they're trying to ask is, what's wrong with you? And over the years, I've given really two explanations. One is I would either say because I'm an asshole, or two, I would say because I get really swept away in relationships. And sometimes I would, use both of those answers. And what I found this summer, after doing a lot of research on other people, is that I think what those two reasons, being an asshole and getting swept away in relationships, really boils down to is that I have narcissistic tendencies that show up in romantic relationships. They also show up in certain work settings, but they show up prominently for me in romantic relationships. So much so that even though I couldn't put a name to it, for over a decade now, I have chosen to remain single because I noticed an unhealthy pattern. So let's talk about it. I like to consider myself gray sexual, and gray sexual is on the spectrum of sexuality. It's closer to being non-sexual than it is to being overtly sexual. So if we had to say on a scale of 1 to 10 how sexual or how sexually attracted I am to other people, I would say I'm at around like a 2.5. For instance, I've worked in spaces where we had hundreds, if not thousands, of people coming in every single day. And I can honestly say that maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, I've ever looked at somebody for the first time and thought, wow, I want to have sex with that person. It doesn't cross my mind. So in case you're wondering about this, like gray sexuality, I don't wonder what people look like naked. I don't wonder what people taste like. I actually prefer the clothed body. I like to joke that, you know me, I'm always showing some fabric. So I lean toward not being very attracted to people. I'm also an introvert. And so, again, I just prefer to spend time alone. But what I noticed would happen is that every now and then there would be this one person that would, I don't know, they would catch my eye, they would get caught in here, and I would like fixate on them. I would fixate and I would obsess, and I would almost like make it my mission to get that person. This happened in grade school. It happened in high school. It happened in college. It happened outside, outside of that. And it finally got to a point where I recognized that pattern. Let me give you, for instance, an example so you can recognize like how bad this was. There was a person that I had been obsessed with for years, for upwards of 6 years, and things just the timing didn't work out, and they were with someone else. And at some point it worked out that we got together. And so there was my opportunity to create something with this person that I had wanted for so long. And within a few months of this person returning love and affection, I literally got disgusted with them. When their naked body was on top of mine, I was just like, I cannot believe that you are on top of me right now. Like, I want you to get off of me. And it just got, this continued with people. And I noticed in hindsight that when I would become obsessed with these people, it's not like I cared very much about them. I don't know that I asked them very many questions about themselves. I allowed them to tell me things about themselves, but I didn't really ask them questions. I don't look people up online because I think that's kind of creepy. Maybe just real quick, like, if I am going on a dinner date, not like dating in a relationship. But I don't like looking people up. There's something like creepy about it to me. So I wouldn't even do that. But even in their presence, I wouldn't ask them very much about themselves, because I think maybe deep down inside, I hesitate saying I didn't care. We'll talk about what I've learned about why I don't ask people too many questions. But yeah, as you could see, I wasn't as invested in them as I should have been, especially once that chase was over. If they ran from me, I took it as a challenge and I was like so excited. I was motivated by that. But then once I got them, once they returned that affection, I don't know, I lost interest really fast. And luckily, what I've learned in my research is that it is possible to have narcissistic tendencies without actually being a narcissist. So ChatGPT and myself don't believe that I am a narcissist, but I do have these tendencies that show up. And the way that they show up is that, again, I sort of set my sights on someone, and then it becomes this conquest, right? And then, I obsess over the person. I show them a lot of love and a lot of attention. And that wasn't conscious for me until it was, right? But it wasn't malicious, because I didn't know that I was doing that. And then again, I would get turned off by them once I had sort of conquered them. I wasn't necessarily mean. I wouldn't say I did the triangulation and I did, would nag anybody or dismiss anyone's feelings. I mean, every now and then we all, we tell jokes at each other's expense. I tell jokes at my own expense, but it wasn't like a regular occurrence. So again, not full on narcissist, just have a couple tendencies, especially in that initial dating stage. And so yeah, it just got to the point where that had happened so many times that I was like, why am I even doing this? Why am I even putting myself through this? And again, going back to what I said earlier about being an introvert and being gray sexual, it's easy to just stop dating, right? This advice isn't going to resonate with everyone, and it's not even meant to be advice. But definitely, if you notice that you have toxic patterns in any area of your life, but especially in dating, which involves other people being really open and really vulnerable with you, and where you can really hurt and traumatize and damage them for long periods of time, and you can kind of pump the brakes on that, then I would definitely recommend you doing that. Or you can do what I did, which is fucking pull the emergency brake and just come to a complete stop. And it's not to say I haven't had some, casual encounters, which those seem to be a little easier for someone like myself, because it's just, we're here with a purpose and then we're done, right? But I know, especially if you lean towards extroversion and you get your you get your validation externally, you probably have already clicked off this video. But if you're still here, wow, that's tough. It's tough to have to seek your validation outside of yourself and to charge your battery outside of yourself, because you're always going to be craving other people and feeding off other people. But if you are like me and you lean toward introversion and or asexuality, then take a break and just be by yourself a little bit and stop hurting other people. And again, so much of my understanding of this came from kind of pointing the finger at other people. I'm not sure if you yourself have had any, have like joined any spiritual community or any church or whatnot, but what I hear happens a lot, and what's even happened with me, is that once you start to learn all of these like enlightening principles, instead of recognizing that, oh yes, I do that toxic thing, oh I do that, I have that negative behavior or whatnot, we start to point the finger at other people, right? So I didn't just learn about narcissism. I've been studying it for about 7 or 8 years now. Or I've studied it twice before in the past 7 or 8 years, but this summer I did like a deep dive. And in that dive, right away, it was like, oh, yep, that person's a narcissist, this person's a narcissist, they have narcissistic tendencies. They're a narcissist, but I'm not quite sure which one they are. And then finally, after, over a month of really exploring this, which can be really triggering, because I've been on the receiving end of it as well. It can be really triggering and really anxiety producing. But I'm glad that at the end of it all, I realized, wow, wait a minute. I have some of these tendencies. And that too, that's something I want you to get from this too, is that there's a spectrum to life, right? It's not always this person's a narcissist and that person's not. This person's toxic and that person's not. There's a spectrum, and you're welcome to exist on it, right? And so just recognizing that, like, wow, I fall somewhere on this spectrum here. And let's go back to, I'll show you how I fall on the spectrum with those 2 initial responses that I had to people as to why I was single. So either I'm an asshole or I get swept away in relationships. Let's talk about those 2. So what I found, and a lot of the videos I've made are going to go back to having a really strong purpose. So what I've found is when I am not anchored down by my purpose, I can get in relationships swept away by other people who are more aligned in whether it's their purpose or their intentions or their goals or whatever it is that they're doing. If they have more gravitas in what they're doing, I will get caught up in that. But if I feel that I am more grounded in my purpose and this person is like, I don't want to use the words like less than, but if they are not grounded in their purpose or goals or mission, they don't have something anchoring them down, then I sort of snub them, or I can be an asshole toward them because what the fuck are you doing with your life, right? Which I could ask myself the same question. So I think that's where those 2, I was right with those, I was very self-aware with those 2 answers, but I think the umbrella here is that they kind of fall under narcissism and those narcissistic tendencies. Like I said, they also come up in certain work environments, but I want to keep this video just really focused. So I'm curious to see whose feed this comes up in. I'm curious to hear if you have realized, with all the narcissism content out there, that maybe you're one, or that you have tendencies. Share with me where they come up, and how, how that looks in your life, and what you're doing to sort of mitigate that, and stop, either getting hurt yourself by narcissists or hurting other people with your narcissistic tendencies. Oh, I think the camera's falling, so that means that the video is over. Thank you for watching, and please comment and have this conversation with me, you guys. Okay.